The following podcast is presented by Blue Ridge Production.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Unpacking the Occupation, the podcast where we connect occupational therapy with everyday realities of parenting. I am your host, Trina Esperante, an occupational therapy student. I am super excited for today's episode. I feel like I say that for every episode, but I am really excited for this episode because I get to sit down with one of my favorite people. She is the smartest OT student and soon to be OT that I've ever met, and is my OT bestie, Isabel. We've gone through OT school together, supported each other through tough assignments, exams, field work. She was my roommate whenever we'd go to Vegas, and we just supported each other in general throughout this entire journey. She's been such an important part of my OT journeys, so I'm really excited for all of you to get to know her a little better today. Isabel, thank you so much for joining me.
Of course, Trina. I love you too, and I just want to say that I'm so happy that I had met you through this program and through this experience. I feel like we've gone through it together and over it and
Mm-hmm.
above it, and we're doing it.
Yeah, all the late nights, all the tears, all the OT Miri videos. What else? With me, you, and
All
Vane. All
yeah,
the things.
all the things, all
All
the
the
things.
things. So I am just so happy that you're here today. We are going to be talking about your son's journey from having a speech delay to becoming a little chatterbox now, and how being an OT student has influenced the way you've parent. And also the impact that Head Start, because I know you enrolled your son into school a little early, and how
Mhm.
it's impacted his development and some of the activities that he loves to do the most, which is rough and tumble play. um,
Yes.
I know there are going to be so many parents listening who can relate to parts of your story, and I just can't wait to dive in. But before we do, can you tell everyone a little bit about your son?
Yes, so my son is 4 years old. He actually just turned 4. He's a Cinco de Mayo baby. Super happy child. I've never had issues with him brushing his teeth, waking up, or anything like that. He sleeps really good. He is not shy to strangers. Um, he's a go lucky little guy. Laughs for absolutely everything. I move a little too fast and he'll crack up. But
Hi, cutie.
But with that, it's also so some things about him that he does love to roughhouse. Man, he will run. He like runs into my body and my husband's
Gosh.
body. And I don't know if it's, you know, how that proprioceptive input that he likes to feel, but I'm like, ram yourself into the couch. Like like the soft part of the
Yeah.
pushing to the couch, but he runs into our body. And so because we are bigger, I've noticed it was
Mhm.
an issue with the smaller kids because well they're smaller and he's just a husky guy. My son is husky and or how we like to say macizo, right? In Spanish, he's macizo. And And so to them, it's roughhousing. And so he, I guess, gets in trouble. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was brought to our attention, and I'm like, I'm sorry. And so we're trying to teach him to, like, yes, you can do that with bigger people, but not with little people.
Yeah, how to implement safe boundaries when it comes to rough play with other people. And
Hmm.
I really like how you mentioned that proprioception input. We are going to talk about that. And for my listeners out there, Isabel and her husband, they do CrossFit, so they're so like they're the buffest people that you'll ever meet too. So um but that's an amazing perspective, and I really am thankful for you sharing a little bit about your son. Um and I know we when we were talking the other day, you were just letting me know that he would not stop talking. He's now a little chatterbox ever since he turned 3. And
Yes.
I know that you had shared that he had a speech delay around that age. Can you tell us a little about what that experience was for you, as his mom?
Yes. So, I mean, we were worried in the beginning because, um, right, you as a parent, we should never compare, but we tend to compare. And
Yeah.
we, like, some kids who were about his age, actually, there is a little boy that is 1 day older than my son. So he was born on the 4th, and my son was born on the 5th. And he was, by the time he was 2, he was already not speaking and listening a lot of words. My son was like pointing, he wasn't really saying a lot. And so I was like, oh
Hmm.
no, like how come he's not? And then I remember asking a speech therapist, like, oh, by 3 years old, they should be saying, no, by 2 years old, they should be saying about 50 words. And I'm like, my son has three. He has a
Oh.
good three solid words, but after that, I mean, we just continued to kind of talk to him and have him repeat words. And so I was again, I mean, he would just kind of point or he would like babble. And then by
Uh-huh.
3, he was saying not sentences, but he was talking a little bit more. Um, Now that he's 4, he is, like, full-blown sentient, he can communicate, like, he tells us, like, "I'm
Yay.
hungry, I'm tired," yes, or whatever. Now he can fully communicate what he's feeling, but that was the part that I was worried about the most because since he did start
Hmm.
school public school at 3 years old, I wanted to feel comfort in him being able to express, like, "Hey, somebody is pushing me," or I don't know,
Yeah.
whatever or that he needs to go to the restroom or for him to be able to communicate to his teachers. So that was the
Yeah.
biggest like worry for me. But honestly, once he started school, because he was in daycare and I was like, oh, in daycare he'll grow in speech and all that. That didn't work. Because he started daycare at 18 months. He, at 3, that's when he started school. And
Hmm.
he just started to let go a lot more verbally, and so then he
Hmm.
started kind of talking more and more and more and more.
Hmm. Aw, I can I think every parent has gone through that compare, other kids, and it's easier said than done when it comes to, trying not to compare and being told not to do it, but I think as parents, one of the important reminders that we have to tell ourselves is that every kid grows at their own pace, right?
Mm,
And I referred this to my one of my other, guests earlier on the series is that in Bluey, there's that one, episode how Chili, the mom, right, is comparing Bluey to the other kids because she's not walking, and at the end of the episode, there's another mom who's giving her advice, talking to her, and just saying that, it's letting them just emphasizing how we have to let them run their own baby race, and us as parents, we're doing absolutely and everything that we can to help support our little ones, and you are a fantastic mom to your son, and I know your husband is also a fantastic dad. I've heard him talk over the phone, he won't stop talking, I absolutely love it. And, a lot of that is being influenced by what you had just mentioned, right? You and your husband just constantly talking and giving that narrative. So you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, and you should be so proud of yourself. And
thank
I
you.
yes, of course. And I just think there are so many parents, they just worry when their child isn't meeting these milestones, right? And it's exactly
Yeah.
when just exactly when it's expected. What advice would you give to another parent who's currently going through something similar?
Um, I would say to well, things that I did was I didn't let him point anymore. And I
Mhm.
had him tell me what he wanted, right? So
Mhm.
because if you give him everything, if I were to give him everything when he was pointing, then it's kind of like, oh, well, I don't really need to say it. And so they don't
Yeah.
practice that. And so, which I would, that was actually an advice that I've given that kind of worked. That
Mhm.
this might be bad advice, but YouTube. YouTube helped him because I don't know if it's because he's a single sibling and he
Uh-huh.
doesn't have, because on YouTube he watches other kids,
Yeah.
and I noticed that he was talking a lot more when he started using YouTube, which again, that bad advice, but it worked for him, and because we were talking to him, like we talk to him as much as we can, but I don't know if it's other kids, right, that he's watching and just copy what he's saying, like memorizing episodes, and that helped him, but
Yeah. No,
take that
I
with a grain
mean,
of salt.
no, no, that's okay. That's okay. I mean, we give our son the iPad too. Sometimes it's been a really good tool, right? And I know there is a lot of controversy when it comes to screen time. As
Mm,
long as he's able to transition away from the screen, right? And you see that it is benefiting him and his development, I don't see why there would be a problem, right? And there are so many educational videos to have him watch, like Miss Rachel or Blippy or um, other educational content on there. So don't beat yourself up. It's okay. That's good advice. And I know in field work, right, we tried not to use the iPad, but whenever we did use it, we use it as a tool. And
mhm,
the way that you are implementing, YouTube and, your phone with him is a tool that helped benefit his speech progression.
uh-huh.
And then going back to that strategy that you had mentioned, you kind of prevented him from pointing and giving him that extra challenge. We talk about it in OT school all the time, right? It's the just right challenge.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, and you saw that, okay, he was an expert at pointing, right? How can we vamp up this skill to make him develop and, just challenge him a little bit more? And by upgrading that task, he was able to increase his speech development, which kudos to you. And that's your OT brain also working. Your
Yeah,
OT
and
brain
then
and
I
mom brain
think,
working at the same time.
yeah,
Yeah.
implementing interventions,
Yes, all the
um,
time. All
all
the
the
time, all the time.
time. But I think also I frustrated him enough to where he would just say the word because he would point at the fridge and I'll be like, "Oh, do you want the pickles?" And like, "No." "Do you want the mustard?" "No." And then, "Do you want ketchup?" And then so he would finally say it. So I think I just frustrated him enough to talk to start telling me what he wanted at first try.
That's good, that's okay, that's what we want, right? We wanna give him that push, we want to help push those boundaries in a very safe way for him to
Mhm.
start, thinking and, like, problem solving, all of these executive functioning skills just popping off, right? Um, so looking back now and seeing how much he's grown, what stands out most to you about that journey? From his, not being able to say more than a couple of words to now just full-blown glossary dictionary.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things that happens overnight. Like I feel like in it just happened. Like he just started
Mhm,
talking, and now when we're driving around or anything, like sometimes he thinks of the words faster than I do. Like we were
uh-huh.
passing through this tower and he was like, "Oh, look, that's a giant." And I was like, "Building? It's not a building." I was like, "What is that?" And he's like, "Tower." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, yes, it's a tower." Like that, you totally beat me
Yeah,
to the word.
yeah.
And it just kind of happens overnight, and then just letting them, take their time. Because I mean, who knows, right? What they're thinking in their mind, like maybe this whole time he's just been absorbing until he finally, oh, that's what that word means. And then
Mhm,
especially with my son, We have English and Spanish speakers,
Mhm.
a lot of Spanish speakers in the family. And so I think it also took him time to put together the words because my
Yeah.
in-laws, all they do is just like they just talk Spanish most of the time. And my mom mostly Spanish as well. So I think also
Mhm.
learning those two languages at the same time was a little bit hard for him to,
Mhm.
okay, so what do these words mean? But just eventually, right, he got it and now he speaks
Yeah.
both and
That's really
he's
good.
it's so funny because he says them at the same time. He'll say like, mira
Mira,
look,
look.
or se cayó, he fell. Like he'll say them both at the same time and which is perfect because I was like, yeah, you're learning it and it's exactly like he's translating it and he knows
Yeah.
exactly what each of the words mean. But I think
Yeah.
that might have also added to the speech delay. Like why it took
Yeah. That's good. The power of neuroplasticity. Am I right?
right?
And right now, he's 4. This age, right? They're little sponges. I tell this to people all the time. They absorb and they learn so much so fast. I
Everything.
mean, you even said it. You're like, "How
Yes.
did you figure out that was a tower?" Like, what? He's so smart. Yeah, and it's just amazing to see and so important. This age is just so important because this is where the most development and growth that as parents you'll see. And so the fact that, your in-laws, your mom, being raised in a bilingual household. This is amazing for him because he's creating those pathways in his brains, and he's just developing
Mhm.
all of these amazing skills that will later translate when he's older.
So to all my parents out there, make it fun. Make learning fun.
Yes.
Don't make it a chore. Like, um, I get down on the floor and I play with him and I'm
Yes.
teaching him, we're playing and I'll be with the colors. Um, like, "Oh, give me the red dinosaur, the or give me the smallest ones first and then
Yeah.
the bigger ones." And so they're slowly learning and playing at the same time, but
Mhm.
just like you said earlier, at the just right challenge. And so if they're
Yeah.
learning sizes, like, "Oh, give me the small ones." And you can start figuring out there that, oh, they do know what small and big is or whatever, right?
Yeah.
As they're smaller, but play with make it fun, make it fun.
Yes. I absolutely agree, and I mean, we've learned in OT school that the child's main occupation is play. So,
Yeah.
just implementing all these different plays, and there are so many different plays, right? Just helps them get motivated to work on the skills. We're kind of like hiding them, like they're in disguise by play,
Yeah.
I like to say. And it's just helping them, grow and develop. And it's just making it fun, like how you said, will get them to complete and do all of these different things that'll help them with their independence. Um, which is perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so switching gears a little bit, I do want to talk about something that I think is really unique about your experience, right? As our experience. So I know you're not only a mom, but you're also an OT student. And I know we've learned so much through this program. How has learning about occupational therapy changed the way you approach parenting?
Honestly, I do an activity analysis more than I want to, right? I'm like always doing or thinking of activity analysis, like what's happening? How can I make it better? Like what are the steps? And just analyzing. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, hey, make it stop.
So,
Like,
um, I know for our non-OT listeners out there, can you explain what activity analysis is?
yes. So, an activity analysis is basically you're breaking down the process of the activity from beginning to end, and you're figuring out where the challenge is. So, and it can be anything from to the restroom or putting your child in the car, anything, and then you're just taking it from the beginning to the end and figuring out
Mhm.
all the steps and where the challenges was to either make it better, make it easier, or fix it, right? So that's basically the
Uh-huh.
activity analysis. And so I'm like always doing that.
As a mom to your 4-year-old,
Yeah. I'm
I
like,
that
make it
is
stop that.
that I know, it never turns your OT lens never like, you can never take them
Turns off.
off. It's, like, embedded in your brain now, and honestly, sometimes I catch myself looking like, doing the same thing with my son and just thinking like, "Oh my gosh, OT school has officially changed my brain."
Yeah.
But I feel like once you start learning OT, you stop seeing behaviors as good or bad, right? You break them down, you observe them with that activity analysis, right? And you start asking, like, what's going on underneath it? Like, why are they acting the way that they are? Instead of
That
just like
is so
assuming,
true.
yes. And I know you're probably gonna be like, oh my gosh, PTSD. But our first term, we learned about OT models and theories and frameworks. And I like to use these OT models and give them to my parents to help them better understand, the whole process and like understand what's going on with their kids, right? And one model that we talked about a lot about in OT school is the PEO model. And I know you're like, "Oh my gosh, the PEO model. Oh no," or just models in general, right? And for my listeners out there, PEO stands for person, environment, and occupation. And the model reminds us that success isn't just about the child. Sometimes we need to look at the environment or the activity itself and ask, what can we change to help support their participation? Have you, I know you've applied the activity analysis, right? But have you found yourself applying that kind of thinking at home? Like, what can be, what's causing if, your son is going through a behavior or, a tough time transitioning. Have you ever tried to observe, okay, like it's not him, is it the environment, is it the activity itself, have you noticed that at home?
Like, just how you were saying earlier, how we don't just look at, oh, he's misbehaving. We look at like the why he's
Mhm.
misbehaving, the bottom of it, and what's the motivation to that behavior, and or like why is this happening, or even sometimes I just let him like kind of self-regulate.
Yeah.
Maybe he just needs to self-regulate, and then from there I see like once he calms down or anything, because he doesn't throw a lot of tantrums for the most part. I always um like I tell him 5 more minutes, he'll be like, okay,
Mhm.
2 more minutes, and then that seems to work for him. Like if I give him
Yeah.
a time countdown, and then okay, and he'll
Uh,
be okay with it. But
yeah.
definitely always looking at the why, the bottom of it, not just, "Oh,
Yeah.
he's misbehaving."
Yeah. I like how you incorporate a lot of these timers. And for our listeners out there, me and Isabel, we've learned a lot about compensatory strategies or just strategies in general to help with, just transitioning with kids. And timers and just the use of visual schedules have been the ones that we've learned the most about.
Yeah.
And safe to say that you've implemented to your son, I've implemented to my son. I've seen other parents from my fieldwork rotation use it, right? And me using it on my patients when I was in my fieldwork rotation. And it's just such a huge help. Just that, the timer of that and that anticipation can really help motivate the kids when it comes to transitioning from one thing to another. And I think one of the biggest gifts OT gives us as parents is the ability to take a step back and problem solve, right? Rather than immediately jumping to frustration. Has there been anything you've learned in OT school that completely changed how you understood your son's behavior or development?
All of it.
Yeah. All of it.
All of it. Yeah, definitely, because now I understand. One, it's easier to I tell myself like, "Okay, let me take a step back and let me kind of, analyze what's going on, why it's going on." And through that,
Mhm.
just like how we were saying earlier, like he's very proprioceptive. Like because he doesn't like I've tried spinning with him, he doesn't like it. Like the vestibular,
Yeah.
I I know, sorry, I'm going like OT, but I was like, "Oh, maybe he likes spinning or something like that." He does not like it at all. He freaks
Yeah.
out. But he does like pressure. So even when he was little, when he was smaller, I would kind of squeeze his body, not squeeze, but gently squeeze his arms,
Mhm.
his legs, and that would just calm them down. Like all that energy that their central system is feeling, especially when they're smaller, like they don't know how to take it out. So a lot of the times a baby will be seen as
Mhm.
fuzzy or like why are they kind of like ansioso, but it's like, no, their little bodies just doesn't know how to take out that input. And so like squeezing a little bit, that would work for my son a lot. I would squeeze him or even to go to sleep, I would give him like a real tight hug and then release, very tight hug, release. After the third one, he was out. Like he was asleep. And so I was like, "Wow, that was crazy how that worked for him." And so learning about all those, sensory inputs has been a game changer when it comes to just the little ones developing and
Mhm.
helping them, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and the power of sensory, right? And vestibular, I know I talk a lot about proprioception in the series, and but vestibular is another one of those hidden senses that we've learned about in OT school, and that's just movement. And that can be linear movement, rotary movement, up and down movement. But when it comes to vestibular, you do have to pair it with proprioception, with that deep pressure input to kind of help regulate them because the proprioception helps reorganize the nervous system and just like the joints, the muscles, what helps them just, you know, in my terms, chill out. uh, but that's just such a great insight because it's funny how our kids end up teaching us just as much as our textbooks do.
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
Yes. All right. So we're shifting gears a little bit again, right? I know you had mentioned your son started Head Start when he was just 3. Tell me a little bit about that decision and what made you decide to enroll him into public school earlier.
Honest Honestly, for our situation, my husband works for, he's a school nurse for um, that elementary is
Mhm.
right next to the middle school he works at. And so
Mhm.
because I was gonna be, for school, we were gonna be gone for 2 weeks at a
Mm.
time. It was just gonna be very difficult for him to drop off our son at daycare and then pick him up after. So it because of how early he had to go in, so it just made sense for us to take him. That way, when my husband goes to school, he takes my son too, and he can worry about the drop off. It's easier for him to drop off and pick him up, especially the times that we
Mhm.
were gone. And
Mhm.
so it just worked out that way. And then plus, one of his little friends was gonna be, he had his friend in the same class,
Mhm.
and so that would like, oh, maybe it's gonna be cool for him to have his friend there,
Yeah.
and so that honestly, that was the biggest,
Reason.
motivator to sending him to school
Mhm.
was the drop off and the pickup for my husband, and then
Yeah.
he was if my son needed, um, assistance, like, let's say he accidentally spilled water all over himself or he peed or whatever, it was my
Mhm.
husband was right there
Yeah. That's
because
that's really good to have
yeah.
that like convenience and planning just making it plan around like your work schedule, your school schedule too, right? And I also think one of the benefits of putting your son in Head Start was this like explosion of just speech. I really do think that helped him. I don't know if you feel that way.
Yes.
And honestly, the benefit of those programs is that, it says it in the name, it's Head Start. You get a Head Start on early education, right? Um, and he's been able to discover and develop these different skills through Head Start. Were you nervous when you decided to, or on his first day of Head Start?
Honestly, no, because we had met with the teacher previously, and the teacher has um so many years of experience, and he's worked with the littles for a long time, so he kind of already like understood how like he's already dealt with that kind of population, I guess,
Yeah,
before with the small ones. And then my husband was right there, and my son loved the classroom. He never was scared. He never complained. Because you
yeah,
also look at the behavior, like if he we're dropping a bomb into the classroom and he's like, no, no, no. It's like, oh, okay, what's going on? Like, why are you
yeah,
scared? And so, but
yeah,
no, he just went in there, he was 100% comfortable, he never really told us
yeah.
anything like, "Did you have fun?" "Yeah." "And what did you
That's
learn?"
so.
Every day was ABCs. That's what he said every day. He's like, ABCs?" Which is like, "No, you were learning your shapes," and then "Oh, yeah." So, yeah, it was a good transition for me
Yeah.
as a parent.
Aw. That's really good, and the fact that he is you had mentioned that he's learning ABCs and all these shapes, right? And I know something that we often discuss in OT, and I've mentioned it before earlier in the episode, is just these executive, functioning skills just growing, right?
Yeah.
And these are the skills that help children play, pay attention, remember directions, transition between activities. They're like the brain's management system, and
Yeah.
have you, noticed any growth in any of those areas since he started school?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, big time, especially in his writing, his coloring, his motor planning, like just the way he does stuff now, and his ability to remember, like, oh, I need my backpack, or oh,
Yeah.
he started putting on his shoes by himself, like just everything. He's
Aw.
just overall grown. And
Yeah.
it's funny because they give us like a packet of their work, and I looked through it and I'm like, there's no way my son colored that. Mm-mm, that's not him. It's somebody else's or something. And no, it's his work. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow, like the way he's tracing his name, his letters,
Uh-huh.
and I poor guy, I don't give him the benefit of the doubt. But I was like, I don't think he did this. I think this might be somebody else's, but then on
Aw.
the back, it'll say his name, and I'm like, "Wow."
Yeah.
Because he's with his coloring, like, now let's say it's a basket of fruits, like, he'll color the according to the corresponding color, so the strawberries are red. It's not completely between the lines, but it's very close to it being, like,
Yeah.
within the lines, and so
Yeah.
the grape would be purple, and the strawberries red, and all of, like, I was like, "Oh my goodness, it's so cool."
Those skills are just gonna continue to grow, and I can't wait to, till you call me and tell me, "He's coloring in between the lines," or "In between the
Right.
lines." Okay. So, going on to our last topic, right? One thing that you mentioned, when we were planning this episode, right, is that your son can be a little rough at times. He likes to ram
Yeah.
into you, he likes to ram into his dad, right? Can you tell us a little bit more on what that looks like for him outside of mom and dad, rough and play?
Like, he likes to grab us by the shoulder and kinda, like, move us back and forth, like, "Hey," kind of, like, I don't know how to explain it, but
Yeah.
he just likes to
Yeah.
do that because he goes, like, the
Yeah.
I don't know why he likes to do that, but he likes to do that. And so when he does it to other kids, it can be too rough or scary for the
Yeah.
little kid. And so that's one of them, or he'll bump into them.
Mhm.
Uh, but not necessarily fight because oh my gosh, he's such a gentle, I call him a gentle giant because he's
Oh,
so big. But it's funny because when other how dinosaurs, you're like, fight or whatever, and when other kids start playing that way with the dinosaurs, he'll start to cry because he's like, "They wanna be friends," and I was like, "Oh my gosh." I was like, and I tried to like, "It's okay, puppy, like, that's the way the dinosaurs play, it's okay." no, friends. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I was like, I need to make him understand that it's okay for toys to fight, but not people to fight. But so he's just funny. He's so funny. But
Right.
but that's what the rough housing looks like because he's just like a tosco kind of child, but he doesn't like to fight or he doesn't like when toys
Yeah.
fight.
He just doesn't know, like, those the safe boundaries, and, he doesn't realize that his playing is a little too rough. In his head, he's like, "Oh, I have a friend playing with me, like, we're friends, like, this is how we play." And that's,
Yes.
it's not a bad thing, right? Some children seek out movement and just, heavy work because their bodies are just looking for that sensory input that you had mentioned, right?
Mhm.
And it just that comes from our muscles and joints. And the proprioception that we talked about helps us understand where our body is in space and often has a calming and organizing effect to the nervous system. As a parent, how do you typically respond when he starts getting a little too rough?
I just remind him to be gentle because the
Mhm.
kids are smaller. Like, hey, you gotta be
Mhm.
gentle, 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 because you can hurt them.
Yeah.
And okay, and then he'll go to my arm and he'll be like this, and so
Uh,
he'll rub my arm slowly, because that's how I've
uh,
developed the difference between gentle and rough. So I'll be like, I'll hit my arm and like, this is rough. This is gentle.
that
And so he goes like gentle. And I'm like, yes, be gentle because they're
uh,
smaller. And he's like, okay, which now he understands it more. Um, yeah. But back then he didn't. Oh my gosh.
uh, yeah, I realize that, parenting takes a lot of just repeating yourself over and over type of strategies. It's not and I really love that approach and how, you transition him and teach him, tell him the why to why, being rough can be dangerous. Because instead of focusing on stopping the behavior, it can be very just helpful to ask what n- what what need the behavior is meeting. So if the child is constantly, crashing or jumping or hitting, right, their body may simply be just telling us that they need more opportunities for movement and heavy work throughout the day. Have you found any activities that seem to help meet that need?
Yes, we take him to the gym. We take him to the gym and I mean, I don't know if this applies. Again, I'm not very uh proficient with pediatrics and all that, but when we take him to the gym, we have boxes, right, that the clients use, but we set them up to where he can climb and climb down. And so he just all he does, so he takes his toys up there and then brings them down, or we'll set up the little the plates, like the weighted plates so he can jump on and off. And so he'll just jump on and off and on and off. And so that tires him out
Uh-huh.
when it comes to, just because it's too the gym that we go to is air conditioned and it's just too hot to take him outside. And so we'll go to the gym and we'll kinda, like, set up an area for him to work out, right? Supposedly him, and he'll have, like, little 2-pound dumbbells, and he'll be carrying them back and forth pretending to work out, and
That's
we have
so good.
yeah, so we have
Sorry, I don't mean to
activities.
interrupt you, but
It's
you are more than a proficient when it comes to that because you are already naturally just providing these safe and helpful movements for your son to get, all of this input in. And, by giving him weights, right, having him jump off the boxes, you can even try have him push those boxes like from one end to another and make it a game like let's take the boat to the other side so that way the dinosaur can go on the boat and we can save him from the flood or I don't know, something something like that, right? But you're already implementing this, which is really, really good. And just, like I said, these activities provide that heavy work input while keeping them safe and engaged. Yeah.
oh my goodness. Maybe on another episode, we can talk about how to how to. He doesn't know how to lose. Just does not.
Oh, okay. Oh,
He does
no.
not know how to lose. I'm like, oh, he. The other day he was playing with a little friend and the friend beat him and oh my goodness, I had never seen him react that way. He was just crying and he
Yeah.
didn't want to. They were like on these little bikes and he didn't want to get off the bike. Oh, it was a mess. I was like,
Yeah.
what in the world? And then every time I race him, I can't beat him.
Ah, yeah, they want that sense of accomplishment, even if it's, something silly, even if they're just playing, right? They want to be able to say like, "I won, I did it." And
Yeah.
it's hard. It's really hard to see, and kind of like a challenge to let them understand what losing is. But I know, while he's still 4, you can start implementing like it's okay to lose, right? Maybe have you and your husband do a competition and you lose and he sees you thanking your husband, right? Or having your husband lose. Wh-
Yeah. Oh,
Whichever
that's a
it
good
may be.
idea.
Yeah, whichever it may be, just to kind of, tell him like, "Look, like daddy lost and he's happy for mommy." Like, or, we are happy to see our friends win, even though we don't win sometimes. And just constantly giving that narrative. I mean, like I mentioned, parenting is all about repeating skills, about repetition you know, and the older he gets, the more he'll be able to understand that concept. And it started from, it started now, it started young. Because his brain is just, it can be easily molded into this understanding. Um,
That is a good idea. I
yeah,
think we'll start doing that with the little cars, like play races and oh, mommy
yeah,
lost. And we're gonna start that today.
yeah, yay, yeah. Start that today. Let me know how that goes. And just reminding him, while he loses in something, you can just remind him, "You're really good at this, right? We can continue to practice on this." Just trying to make it like a very positive experience, because it sucks to lose, right?
Yeah.
I know you're competitive, I'm competitive,
Mhm.
it does suck to lose, but sometimes we have to lose gracefully, and we just have to remind that to our kids too. But I absolutely love how you brought that up. That was amazing.
Yay! High five.
Okay.
Poof.
Food. All right. So before I wrap up each episode, I like to give my parents an OT tip of the day. And today's tip is don't be afraid of rough and tumble play. Learn how to channel it safely. And
Mm.
as parents, it can be easy to assume that rough play is something that we should stop immediately. But in many cases, children aren't trying to be aggressive or misbehave. They're actually exploring their bodies, testing their strength, learning boundaries, and just seeking all the sensory movement and input. So I know in OT school, right, we often think about the sensory system and how it's involved in movement. Many children, especially active preschoolers, seek that proprioceptive input, which is activities like pushing, climbing, jumping, or just building obstacle courses at the CrossFit gym, right? Can help meet that need in a safe and organized way. So, some other things that you can implement, teach him how to crash on the couch. I know you want him to crash to the couch, like into the pillows, right? You could do animal walks to grab that dinosaur, tug of war, pushing those boxes when he's at the gym. And, you wrestling with safe boundaries too can also help as
Mhm.
well. And the key is about teaching our children where, when, and how rough play is appropriate. And remember, the goal isn't to stop children from moving. The goal is to help them find a safe and meaningful and regulated way to meet those movements, while also respecting your own limit as a parent or, the other kids. And sometimes supporting your children means helping regulate ourselves first. Phew. Okay, so Isabel, thank you so much for joining me today. I always love talking with you. Today's episode felt like I was just on the phone with you and we're just having another daily conversation. And I just know our listeners are going to learn in so much from your experience as a mom, as an OT student. And I just really thankful and I appreciate your time being here with me on this episode.
Of course. Thank you for having me. It was fun. It definitely felt like we were just talking on the phone or right next to each other. I forgot that it was an episode.
Just thank you to everyone listening to another episode of Unpacking the Occupation. If today's episode resonated with you, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another parent who might benefit from hearing this conversation. You can also find more information on my capstone project and any podcast updates on my Instagram, OT with Trina. Remember, childhood is not a race. Every child develops at their own pace, and sometimes the most meaningful growth happens when we least expect it. Until next time, keep unpacking. Mahalo!